Dr. Vikki Petersen here. I wanted to speak with you today about sugar cravings. And regardless of whether you follow a gluten-free diet or not, sugar cravings are something that seems to be almost universal amongst patients. And for those of you who don't even know what I'm talking about and don't like sugar, then you can go on to another video. But for those of you who understand what it's like to eat a perfectly good meal, feel pretty satisfied after that meal, you've enjoyed it, and then a very short while later, the little sugar monkeys on your shoulder, as I like to call it, yelling in your ear, sugar, sugar, and you just have to have something sweet. So if you know what I'm talking about, then this will be the video for you. We've been in practice over 20 years, and I personally used to have terrible sugar cravings, and I think you'll agree if you currently have them, the concept of not having them seems almost as foreign as, living on another planet. I know for me, I tried to keep them at bay, I tried to be good, but they were always a bit there. And now I don't have them at all, and I still marvel at that because it's such a nice thing to not be plagued by it. So, what are the root causes? There are several, but I just wanted to focus on a few that I haven't really talked about too much. Briefly, there's the typical standard American diet, which is of course horrible, and because of that, the underlying factor that I really want to communicate is that sugar cravings tend to come from blood sugar that's erratic. So what I mean by that is your blood sugar or your fuel level should be nice and stable throughout the day and night, kind of, humming along within a narrow range. Obviously, when it's time to eat and you're feeling hunger, the blood sugar has dropped a little bit, but it's not the roller coaster ride of blood sugar going up and down. And it is when blood sugar is more on a roller coaster and it really plummets precipitously, that's when those cravings get very, very strong. So why would blood sugar do that? Number one is just a poor diet. Number two is not knowing you have certain food intolerances, so you're eating food, it's not really turning into good fuel for you. Gluten is a perfect example of that. Not only are you not turning the gluten itself into good fuel, but because of what gluten does to your small intestine, causing so much inflammation, you're not even absorbing the other good food that you're eating. The other thing that can happen for the gluten intolerant people is that they remove gluten, which is tough. There's no two ways about that. And then there's so many gluten-free goodies available now that they find themselves eating more cakes and cookies and treats than they ever did before they removed gluten, just because the whole focus is gluten-free, 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 and maybe not so much as it should be of what's all the good food. So it's like, well, I can have this cookie because it's gluten-free, or I can have this muffin because it's gluten-free. So for gluten-free folks, they can kind of get into that problem, which is not good. We don't just want to get off gluten, but we want to focus on the good nutrition, which leads me into the next major point that we've realized here at the clinic, and that is that the consumption of adequate vegetables and fruits is sadly lacking in our country. And we've heard about the 5 servings a day. Upon research, I found that 5 is actually the bare minimum. It's really more for children and sedentary adults. The typical man needs 9 servings of fruits and vegetables. That would be 5 veggies and 4 fruits. And the average woman needs 7. So 4 vegetables and 3 fruit. I recently did a blog post about this, and someone brought up the fact some people don't tolerate fruits as well. So, of course, you can do more vegetables. There's no problem with that. Organic is preferable. The vegetables that are most preferable are things like kale and broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts and a lot of those dark green vegetables that are so very good for us. In the fruit category, we're not talking about bananas and mangoes that are very high in sugar, but the berries, so the raspberry, blueberry, blackberry, currants, things like that are very, very high in antioxidants. And these antioxidants that you hear about, you hear about them, but what is it that they do? They're very important for detoxifying the body. They're very nourishing to the body. So what we found here at the clinic is that as we work with patients more and more to get that proper level of vegetables and fruits in their diet, a very interesting thing happens, and that is that their sugar cravings go away. They feel very satisfied with what they're eating, and it was a certainly nice side benefit from getting those adequate number of fruits and veggies, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because you're now nourishing your cells. And when that sugar monkey's on your back saying sugar, sugar, what that's really translated into is the cells of your body saying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Where's the fuel? I didn't get it because it was such a poor form of nutrition that you consumed. As those fruits and vegetables go up, those cells are more satisfied, they're more nourished, and literally the sugar craving just, it disappears. It's not that you're saying, no, I don't want to hear it, I'm going to be good. It's not that. There's no monkey on the shoulder at all. He has left the building, right? So as I said in the beginning, having suffered myself from sugar cravings, I know you might be watching this saying, I can't imagine. But trust me, it's true. So that was the one point I wanted to make. And then the one other point I wanted to make, and this is more particularly for women, is a progesterone imbalance. Now, there's two major sex hormones that women have, estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone deficiency is very, very common in all ages. This can start with teenagers all the way up through menopausal women, so there's really not an age group that this favors. And when you're deficient in progesterone, things like moodiness and irritability and menstrual cramps and heavy bleeding, PMS, migraines, a lot of those symptoms that we associated with an unhappy menstrual cycle are associated with deficiency in progesterone. Infertility is actually in there, and miscarriages as well. So that's something that we work with also. That's very, very important, because what progesterone does, it does a lot of things, but it's what's called a glucose tolerance factor. So it's going to stabilize that blood sugar. So we found that in certain women in particular, that was a missing factor, and as soon as we stabilized that progesterone, we stabilized blood sugar, and sugar cravings went away. So I wanted to share this because it's very important, and it really can defeat your best efforts when trying to do a good job on your diet. So I hope this was helpful. Please let me know and ask me any questions that you have. And until next time, I wish you very good health.